detectives, and welcome to my video for January. Of course, this is the year that book 8 is published. It's coming in August in the UK and Ireland, and I have just officially revealed that its cover is going to be a beautiful coral shade. I'm really excited about that. It's going to look gorgeous. Of course, I'll be able to reveal the title a little later this year, but for now, we know that the cover is coral, and we also know that the book is set in Deep Dean. It's my third school murder mystery. It stars Daisy and Hazel, and Kitty and Beanie and Lavinia as well. You'll meet a lot of familiar faces as well as a lot of new people. I've been working really hard on the second draft of book 8. I've just handed it back to my editor and got notes on it. So for the rest of this month, I'm going to be focusing on making book 8 even better, making it good enough to publish. It's good at the moment, but it's not great. And I need to make sure that it's absolutely perfect for my readers and my fans. So that's what I'm doing this month. Of course, I've also been reading a lot in the last month or so. I haven't had a chance yet to tell you about all the things that I read during my Christmas holidays, so I'm going to use this video as a bit of a roundup of some of the books that I've enjoyed the very most over the last few months. The first book I've chosen is a graphic novel for children that I found when I was in the US in November last year. Now, there aren't that many graphic novels published in the UK for kids at the moment, which is a real pity because I think they're fantastic. Graphic novels are a great way to tell a story. They're so accessible, they're so beautiful, as well as being well written, and I really, really enjoy them. And this book, which is The Prince and the Dressmaker by Wang, I think is one of my favorites I've read for a very long time. The first thing to say about it is that it is beautifully written and illustrated. Jen's illustrations I think are gorgeous. This is one of my favorite spreads in it. Just the colors she uses and the perspectives are fantastic. But I also love it because of the story it's telling. Of course, it is about a prince and a dressmaker, and the prince is a man with a bit of a secret because sometimes he likes to dress up as a princess called Lady Crystalia and go out on the town. And this is a secret that he has to hide. He thinks everyone else will be really ashamed and confused by it until he meets a dressmaker called Frances. And Frances and her wonderful talent for making up beautiful new dresses, beautiful clothes, she works with him to create something really special, to create all of Lady Crystalia's costumes, and they become really close friends, and they basically hide the prince's real identity together. Of course, ultimately the secret has to come out, and this is the story about what happens when it does. It's beautifully written, it's beautifully illustrated. As I say, I just love the look of this book. I think all the dresses are gorgeous and really, really fun to look at. But I love the story. I love a story about learning to be yourself and be really proud of who you are. I love the story about all the different ways to be a man and be a woman. And I think it's really important to see books like this. The next book I've chosen is also a graphic novel. You may be seeing a theme, and it is The Ultimate Spider-Man Miles Morales. Now, this isn't actually the first graphic novel in the series. This is the second collection, and that is because I've lent out the first because last month I went to go see Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, the new Spider-Man film. Now, this is really secretly a plug for that movie because it was fantastic. I love superhero movies, but I have never seen anything quite like Into the Spider-Verse. It was absolutely incredible, and I would recommend it to people in a way that I normally wouldn't with superhero movies. I think anyone would like that movie. It is beautiful. It's so exciting. It does amazing things with the superhero genre that I have never seen in a movie as opposed to a comic book. And so yeah, definitely go see Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. But apart from the fact that it is a fantastic movie, it is wonderful, it's so exciting. Another reason why I loved Into the Spider-Verse so much and why people are talking about it and really excited about it is that it is the first ever Spider-Man movie to star someone other than Peter Parker. It's not about Peter Parker, the original Spider-Man, the one who you probably think of when you hear the word Spider-Man. It's about another Spider-Man called Miles Morales. Now, Miles is a pretty new character in the Marvel Universe. He was only introduced a few years ago. And unlike Peter Parker, he is not white, he is black, he is a 14-year-old boy when the story begins, and the Ultimate Spider-Man is all about how he is also bitten by a radioactive spider, and he learns to use his powers in the same way that Peter Parker does. So the great thing about this series is it's not gone on for decades and decades. It's pretty new. It's only a few years old. So if you've never read any Spider-Man before, this is a really good one to start with because you can actually read all of the editions, all of the episodes, and feel like you know everything that's going on with Miles Morales, which is not something you can do with Peter Parker. I only started reading comics a few years ago and I feel totally overwhelmed by how many books about Peter Parker there are, how much I need to catch up on. I don't have to worry about that with Miles Morales. It's also really exciting to see a character who is Black be the center of a comic book series, to be a hero. And that was so lovely about watching Into the Spider-Verse as a movie. You got to see a Black boy learning to become a hero, which is great, which we don't see enough of, and which I think is really important. As you can tell, I loved Into the Spider-Verse. I think you should all go see it, and I think it's suitable for anyone 10+, which is the same as the Ultimate Spider-Man series. I would say they're suitable for anyone 10+, anyone who loves superheroes, anyone who loves comic books, anyone who wants to get into a great new series. We're going up to YA for my next pick, which I also collected when I was in the US last year, even though you can also buy it in the UK. And it is Natasha and Ngan's Girls of Paper and Fire. Now, I only have the cover at the moment because my husband's reading the book. It is so good that I read it and then I gave it straight to him and he is loving it too. So that gives you some idea about how wonderful and engrossing this book is. This is a YA fantasy set in a world where demons coexist with humans. And it's all about a girl called Lei, who is part of the paper case, which kind of means she's a human. In this world, demons rule and humans are sort of their slaves, their servants. Lei lives happily with her family until one day when she is torn from them by wicked demons who want to give her to the Demon King, the ruler of the whole country, to be one of his many concubines, his paper girls. And as you can tell, it's a pretty scary prospect. Lei is horrified. She does not want to go, but she is dragged all the way to the Imperial Palace and she is installed as one of the king's paper girls. She knows she doesn't want to be there. She knows she wants to break free and escape. But as she's thinking this, she also becomes closer and closer to another one of the paper girls, a girl called Ren. And Lei and Ren, as well as deciding they have to get away, they fall in love. And so this book is all about them trying to get free of the horrible Demon King and also falling deeper and deeper in love with each other. So this book, I would say, is a fantasy story, but it's also very much a love story, and I really loved both those aspects of it. I think the world Natasha has created is phenomenal. It's beautifully done. It's so engrossing. It's so realistic. She's really thought about all these different wonderful details. The food descriptions are great. I always love good food descriptions in a book, and she has done very well. This book is very uncomfortable and very upsetting at times because it is all about being a concubine. There are scenes of sexual assault that were very hard to read, and that's why I would say this is not a book for younger readers. I would say this is a book for 15+, and a book to think carefully about before you read it in case that is something that really upsets you. It is very important for the themes of the book. I think it's appropriate for the book and I think it's handled very well, but I do just want to say that that is something that is in this book, so you might want to think a bit carefully about starting to read it. But I think this is a phenomenally good book for anyone who loves fantasy, who loves really beautiful, engrossing worlds. For anyone who really enjoyed Donielle Clayton's The Bells last year, I would say this is perfect. And again, this is for anyone 15+. The next book I've chosen is also for the older end of YA, and it's a book that I got for Christmas, and it is The Muse of Nightmares by Laini Taylor. Now, I have been obsessed with Laini Taylor for years and years, ever since her first trilogy, which started with The Daughter of Smoke and Bone. She's a beautiful writer. She really creates characters that you connect to. She creates worlds that seem so fantastical and so beautiful at the same time. And this is the second book in her series. Strange the Dreamer is the first, and it's a big, beautiful blue book, the way this is a big, beautiful red book. This book begins exactly where Strange the Dreamer leaves off. So if you haven't read Strange the Dreamer, you should read that first because it starts this duology. This book is about a girl called Sarai who lives in a secret citadel above a city. She is a god, her skin is blue, and she has talents that normal humans do not. She can enter people's minds in their dreams, and she can shape their dreams around her. This is something she used to give people nightmares until the day when she met a boy called Laszlo. And Laszlo is unusual in his own way. He dreams like nobody else, and Sarai falls in love with him through his dreams. They meet in his dreams and they fall in love. But while this is happening, while this love story is going on, some terrible things are happening around them, because the citadel that Sarai lives on is the target of attack by a group of people who want to tear it down and want to kill her because they believe that she is a wicked god, she and her friends are wicked, and they have to be killed to be stopped. And that is basically the setup for this book and for this series of books, and I won't tell you anything more than that. I just love the way that Laini Taylor describes places, and her talent for creating people that you deeply, truly care about is incredible. I love every single one of the characters in this book, even the ones who I thought were bad or who actually are basically the bad guys. I love them and I don't want any harm to come to them, which is a difficult thing when you're reading a book in which you know that probably some of the characters will not make it to the end. But I'm just totally engrossed by Laini Taylor's writing. I can't read her books fast enough. I need her to write faster because I am obsessed. So I would say this is perfect for you if you love fantasy and fantasy worlds. If you really enjoy books with engaging characters, books you can really get into and connect with and sort of stay in for a long time, Laini Taylor is the author for you. As I say, this is for about 14, 15 plus, again, partly because of its enormous size. This thing is a beast, but also I think you'll just get a bit more out of it if you wait a little while to start reading it. My last pick for this month is, as always, a classic, but there's a bit of a twist this time because what I've chosen is a series that is a classic to you, but that until last month I had never read before, and it is the Percy Jackson series by Riordan. Now, you have been telling me for literally years that I need to read Percy Jackson, and I've heard you, and I've always wanted to, but I have been so busy that I keep putting off actually picking it up and starting to read it. And then last month I finally decided to do it, and I took the first book out of my local library and I fell in love. Greek gods and heroes and monsters are some of my favorite stories. They were my favorite stories growing up, and I'm always really excited to discover books that talk about them in a really interesting, fun, intelligent way. And this book, this series really does. It was love at first page, and I have been obsessed ever since. I have not just read the first book, I have read the first three. This is the third in the series, and I have just heard that the fourth that I've had on hold at the library has come in, so I'm about to go into town and pick that up. I just can't tell you how much I love these stories and how much I love Percy. I'm hooked. So thank you so much to everyone who has told me over the past 5 years I need to read Percy Jackson. You were right, and I should have done this way earlier. I'm going to finish this and then I'm going to move on to the next one of Rick's series. I'd say that Percy Jackson was suitable for anyone about 8+, anyone who loves the Greek gods and loves the Greek myths, or anyone who's never heard them before and wants to discover them in a really interesting, fun way. This is perfect for you. It is a great series, and I love it. So that's all for me this month, and as you can see, it's very exciting and very busy for me already. I'm going to be taking a little bit of time off at the beginning of next month, but then I will be back with a lot of events, a lot more announcements, and a lot more exciting news about the progress of Book 8. But until then, goodbye.